This story begins with a boy named Jacob. At that time, some other teenagers were bullying him. Jacob isn't like most other kids his age. He's not playful or cheerful. His mood always seems a bit off. Later, Jacob and his manager head to Jacob's house because of some kind of emergency. But then Jacob gets a call from his grandfather. His grandfather tells him not to come home because it might be dangerous for him. Jacob thinks his grandfather is just saying that because he's getting old, but deep down, he still feels that something isn't right. Jacob and his manager arrive at his grandfather's house. His manager tells him that if he finds anything unusual, he should let her know right away. When Jacob walks inside, he sees the whole place is a mess. It looks like someone might have broken in. His grandfather is nowhere to be found, so Jacob starts searching for him. He notices that the back door is broken too, and his grandfather is still missing. So he heads toward the forest behind the house to look for him. Suddenly, he spots his grandfather lying unconscious on the ground. Jacob rushes over and turns him onto his back, only to discover that his grandfather's eyes have been taken out. He feels terrified. Someone has taken out his grandfather's eyes. For a moment, he thinks his granddad is dead. Jacob quickly calls his manager for help, but suddenly, his grandfather wakes up and grabs his hand. In a weak voice, he tells Jacob to trust him. He says that Jacob must go to an island trapped in a time loop from 1943. A bird disguised as a person will appear and tell you everything, he says. Jacob has no idea what his grandfather is talking about. Then, out of nowhere, he notices a massive creature circling around him, trying to attack. He alerts his manager, and she immediately fires her gun behind her, but she can't see anything there. Only Jacob can. Moments later, his grandfather passes away, leaving Jacob in shock and sorrow. Jacob became depressed, so he started seeing a psychiatrist for therapy. During one of the sessions, he told the doctor about his past, how his grandfather used to tell him stories about strange monster-like creatures and children with special powers. These kids had unique, almost magical abilities, and there were plenty of other bizarre tales too. The stories were so unusual that they were hard to believe. One day, his grandfather told him about an island where those magical children and monsters lived together. Back then, Jacob was just a kid, so he believed every word. He even wanted to share those stories with others. But the day he told them to his classmates, everyone laughed at him. They thought those were just silly, made-up tales. As Jacob grew older, he slowly stopped believing in his grandfather's stories. But his grandfather always reminded him, "I never lied to you, Jacob. Those stories are real." Jacob was closer to his grandfather than to his parents, so he spent most of his time living at his grandfather's house. After his grandfather passed away, he moved back in with his parents. At his parents' house, Jacob's having his 18th birthday party. During the celebration, his aunt gives him a gift, a book. She tells him it's from his grandfather, who asked her to give it to Jacob when he turned 18. Inside the book's package, Jacob finds a postcard that's about 2 years old. The sender is someone named Miss Peregrine. The postcard reads, "We're fine. We're living here safely. And we miss you." Jacob can't believe it. The letter seems to be from the very same island his grandfather used to tell stories about. After all these years, he had almost convinced himself that those stories were just made up. But after reading the postcard, a spark of doubt grows inside him. Maybe, just maybe, there's some truth behind those old stories after all. Jacob tells his psychiatrist and his parents about everything. He explains that those stories, and the children from them, might really exist. After hearing this, the psychiatrist advises his parents that Jacob needs a break, something refreshing for his mind. She suggests taking him on a vacation. And Jacob chooses the island his grandfather once talked about. Jacob feels excited about the trip. He believes this might be his chance to uncover the mystery his grandfather left behind. During the journey, we learn that Jacob's father is actually a writer who specializes in stories about birds, so the trip is also useful for him. When they arrive, they discover it's a small, quiet island. They manage to find a small hotel to stay in. But Jacob's real goal is to find the mansion where, according to his grandfather's stories, those children with magical abilities once lived. He asks the locals about the place, but they tell him that the mansion used to exist long ago. It was destroyed by German bombs during World War II in 1943. They warn him that there's nothing left to see and that he won't find a single living soul there. Still, Jacob insists, asking them to show him the way. Some boys point him in the right direction, and after a while, he finally reaches the spot. When he arrives, he finds the mansion completely destroyed, just the broken remains of what once was. Jacob starts exploring the ruins and soon realizes that the house perfectly matches the descriptions his grandfather used to tell in his stories. Suddenly, a girl appears out of nowhere, startling him. Jacob freezes in fear, but the girl quickly assures him that she means no harm. Then, Jacob notices more children appearing around the area. He's completely shocked. No normal person could live in a place this ruined. The thought hits him, maybe they're ghosts. Terrified, he turns and runs as fast as he can. But in his panic, he trips, falls to the ground, and loses consciousness. When Jacob wakes up, all the children are standing around him. Confused and frightened, he asks, "Are you human? Or are you ghosts? Am I dead too?" The girl gently shakes her head. "No one's dead," she says. "Miss Peregrine told us you'd be coming, so we came to meet you." Before Jacob can ask more, the girl takes his hand and pulls him through a strange portal into their time loop. Everything happens so fast that Jacob can't process it. Overwhelmed, he breaks free and runs back toward the town, desperate to find his father. But soon, it becomes clear that everything around Jacob has changed. The roads, the houses, even the air feels different. Without realizing it, he has already entered the time loop. The year is now 1943. Jacob hurries back to where his hotel should be, but when he enters, he's stunned to see that it's not a hotel at all. It's a bar. Back in 1943, this place hadn't been converted yet. People inside stare at him suspiciously. His clothes, his phone, everything about him looks strange for this time period. As Jacob rushes deeper into the bar, the crowd starts surrounding him. It's the middle of World War II, and to them, Jacob looks like a spy or an enemy soldier. They try to capture him. Just as things are about to turn dangerous, the children with magical abilities appear. Using their powers, they create chaos inside the bar, breaking plates, moving objects, and confusing everyone. In the end, they set the bar on fire and drag Jacob out, saving him just in time. They escape on a horse-drawn wagon, speeding down the old dirt road. Jacob, still shaken, asks them what just happened back there, how everything in the bar was flying through the air. Then, a voice speaks from nowhere. It's an invisible boy who tells him, "That was me. No one can see me unless I'm wearing clothes." Jacob looks stunned, hearing a voice but seeing no one. After a while, they all arrive back at the mansion. But this time, Jacob is completely speechless. The place is no longer in ruins. The mansion looks grand and perfectly restored, surrounded by blooming flowers and lush greenery. The air feels calm and alive, as if time itself has turned back. Then, a woman steps out from the mansion's doorway to welcome him. She introduces herself as Miss Peregrine. Jacob slowly starts to understand that everything happening to him is real, and all the stories his grandfather used to tell perfectly match these situations. Later, Miss Peregrine introduces Jacob to the other children, each with a unique ability. There's a girl who can control the wind and is so light that she can float in the air, which is why she always wears iron shoes. There's a blonde girl who can control fire. She can heat things up or even burn them with her touch. One boy has a workshop ability. If he builds any mechanical doll and places a heart he made inside it, the doll comes to life. Another girl can make plants grow fast and large. One kid can lift enormous weights with ease, something no normal human could do. One boy keeps bees inside his body and can release them through his mouth. Another has the power to see the future. And there are a pair of twins who always cover themselves with thick cloth. Their abilities remain unknown. This large mansion is home to all these children, and Miss Peregrine takes care of them and lives with them. She has the ability to manipulate time and uses time loops to protect and hide these special children from the rest of the world. Jacob spends some time there, but eventually tells them he wants to return to his own timeline. All the children beg him to stay, but the oldest boy understands Jacob's situation. He knows Jacob will have to leave eventually, so he invites him to watch the time loop reset, something all the children enjoy witnessing. After dinner, everyone comes out to the front yard of the house. It's raining, and suddenly a fleet of German fighter planes approaches. One of the planes drops a bomb, and just before it's about to hit the house, Miss Peregrine freezes time and reverses it by 24 hours. That's how they've been living, repeating the same day over and over for years. Because of this time loop, none of them age, and they remain hidden from the real timeline. Suddenly, Jacob returns to the present timeline, but before leaving, he had taken a letter with him. Later, lying on his bed, he reads it. The letter is a warning. It says that a villain has managed to enter the hidden timeline. It also explains that there isn't just one time loop. There are many. There are other bird-like creatures, just like Miss Peregrine, known as protectors. They create their own time loops and watch over other children. The letter warns that the villain has gained the ability to infiltrate hidden time loops and may soon attack Miss Peregrine's loop. It says she must create another, more secure loop. Otherwise, the villain will find them and kill everyone. Jacob immediately goes to Miss Peregrine and tells her about it, but she scolds him, saying he wasn't supposed to steal and read the letter. Later, Jacob and one of his friends go for a walk. They take a small boat and decide to explore the sea for a while. After they sail a bit farther, she invites Jacob to dive underwater, where a sunken ship lies. The ship is old and rusted. Inside, she shows Jacob a box. It once belonged to his grandfather. Inside the box, Jacob finds a map and some documents. Then his friend tells him that he must have some kind of special ability, because no ordinary person could enter and exit time loops so easily. She also explains that Miss Peregrine is a kind and selfless protector who keeps all the children safe from the villain. When they come out of the ocean, a monster suddenly appears, forcing them to hide immediately. But Miss Peregrine arrives with a crossbow and shoots the creature, driving it away. Seeing the fear on Jacob's face, his friend asks if he can actually see the monster, because none of them can. Jacob nods, and she realizes that this is his special ability. She explains that his grandfather had the same power. She then takes Jacob to Miss Peregrine. Miss Peregrine tells him that she already knew he was special, but his grandfather wanted him to live a normal life. He had planned to tell Jacob the truth on his 18th birthday, but sadly, he never got the chance. Then Miss Peregrine shows Jacob a book called Peculiar History. The book tells the story of their community's past. Long ago, they lived peaceful lives, hidden from the world. But over time, some among them began to desire immortality. They wanted to live forever in the present timeline without relying on time loops. They had grown tired of repeating the same day endlessly. These people eventually separated from the rest of the community. Led by a powerful and ambitious man, the villain, they decided to perform an experiment. They captured a protector and tried to extract the ability of immortality from him. But the experiment went horribly wrong. Instead of gaining eternal life, they were transformed into hideous, invisible monsters. No one could see them. Later, the villain discovered a way to reverse the effect by consuming the eyes of peculiar children. Their eyes contained the energy needed to make him visible again. So the villain began hunting these children, taking their eyes and consuming them to regain visibility. He succeeded in becoming visible once more, but the others remained invisible and monstrous. Later, another protector arrives at Miss Peregrine's loop to warn her about the villain. Her own loop had already been attacked by the villain and his monster followers. All of her children were killed in the process, and she barely escaped. She came seeking refuge. She warns Miss Peregrine that she must relocate her loop to another point in time, or the villain will eventually find them as well. Jacob still struggles to understand everything, and he doesn't want to get involved in something so dangerous. So he returns to the present timeline. When he arrives, he sees a crowd gathered near the hotel. He soon discovers that the hotel owner has been found dead, and his eyes were taken, just like Jacob's grandfather. Realizing the villain is already on the island, Jacob immediately rushes back to warn Miss Peregrine. But he doesn't notice someone following him. When Jacob enters the loop, that person enters as well. Jacob confronts him, asking who he is and how he managed to enter the loop, since ordinary people can't do that. The man reveals himself. It's Jacob's psychiatrist. Then his face shifts again, revealing the villain. He tells Jacob that he has been watching him for a long time because Jacob was the only way to enter Miss Peregrine's loop. The villain marches Jacob to the mansion, holding a sharp object to Jacob's neck and using him as a hostage. He demands Miss Peregrine surrender. He then reveals his plan. He wants to run another experiment to restore his monster followers to human form, and to do that, he needs many protectors. Miss Peregrine agrees to go with him because she has no other option. If she refuses, the villain will destroy the loop and kill the children. Before leaving, Miss Peregrine tells Jacob that he is the most important of them all, and that in her absence, he must take care of the children. She makes him promise that he will protect them. Then Miss Peregrine turns into a bird and locks herself inside the villain's cage. The bird is her true form. The other protector who came for refuge stays behind with the children. After the villain leaves, the kids shut every door and window of the house to stay safe. Right away, one of the monsters arrives and attacks, killing the other protector. Only Jacob can see it, so he throws everything he has at the creature. He manages to wound it, giving the children a chance to run. They make it onto the rooftop, but without Miss Peregrine, the loop doesn't reset. It's still the wartime night. A Nazi bomb drops straight onto the house, blowing it apart, but the children manage to escape safely. They all go to the beach and agree to rescue Miss Peregrine, and maybe free other protectors who were captured like her. But they have no way to leave the island. Jacob tells them that if they combine their powers and work together, they can raise the sunken ship and use it to escape. They do exactly that and manage to sail the ship again. Jacob has a map marking the locations of every time loop. Meanwhile, the villain and his followers are in a circus tent, preparing to run their experiment. Jacob and the others come up with a plan to save the protectors and end the villain for good. The girl who can float sneaks into the tent and warns the villain that she won't let him complete the experiment because she just killed one of his monsters. The villain doesn't believe a word of it. He mocks her and tells his allies that the children are weak and useless. Then he sends them after the kids. The kids step up and act surprisingly mature. They use ice and then candy to hit the invisible monsters, making them visible to everyone. Their friend who can bring objects to life animates a pile of skeletons, forming a whole skeleton army. The skeletons attack and kill the monsters one by one. Eventually, they fight their way to the villain, but the battle drains them. Even so, they keep going and wipe out all his followers by using their abilities together. Jacob's friend manages to restrain the villain long enough for Jacob to reach the cages. Inside, he finds all the protectors locked up, including Miss Peregrine. He opens the cells and frees them. Right then, the villain grabs Jacob. When the others arrive, they see two Jacobs standing there. The villain has taken Jacob's appearance, and now the kids have no idea which one is real. Both Jacobs try to convince the kids that they're the real one, but the real Jacob suddenly notices a monster behind them. The villain has no idea it's there. Jacob doesn't warn him, and the monster grabs the villain, unable to tell the difference between the two of them while he's disguised. Before the villain can expose himself, the monster tears out his eyes and kills him. Jacob then finishes the monster off with a weapon, and with that, every last creature is gone. The children now have to return to their loop in 1943 because they're currently in a 2016 loop. They need to reset their ages in order to go back, and that process could kill them if it goes wrong. They start saying goodbye to Jacob, who wants to travel with them, but his friend tells him he can't. He's needed most in his own time. Finally, she says goodbye, and Jacob stays behind in 2016. All the children returned to the 1943 loop. They still needed a new loop to survive, so Jacob visited his grandfather a few days before his death, happy to see him again. Jacob told him everything that had happened, and his grandfather told him he shouldn't stay there. He needed to go back to her, because she was waiting for him. His grandfather gave him some old money, knowing he'd need it. Jacob had his map, and he would have to cross many loops to reach 1943 again. He would need a full year for each jump, so he joined the Navy and slowly moved back through time loop by loop. Eventually, he reached the year 1993 when his friend would arrive, and he finally found her again. The ship they were on was carrying all the children toward a new loop, and Ms. Peregrine was there too, wishing to return to her children so she could protect them forever.